Everyone believes they understand people. But the truth is, the mind runs on hidden codes, quirks, instincts, and patterns that surprise even scientists. These aren't random trivia. They are windows into why you think, feel, and act the way you do. Before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe, so you never miss the psychology facts that reveal how human behavior really works. Here are 15 you'll never forget. 1. Talking to yourself is a sign of control, not madness. When you speak your thoughts out loud, your brain treats the words as instructions. Athletes whisper plays, surgeons talk through steps, and students recite notes because it sharpens focus. It's not embarrassment, it's training. Self-talk is your mind coaching itself to win. 2. Messy handwriting often reveals fast thinking. The hand can't keep up with the speed of thought, so words rush out unevenly. What looks sloppy is actually evidence of ideas moving quicker than ink can flow. Many creative minds leave behind chaotic notes. Disorder on paper often means brilliance in motion. 3. Negative words burn into memory more than praise. A single insult can echo in your head for days, while 10 compliments fade quickly. Evolution taught us to remember threats over rewards. Missing kindness never killed anyone, but missing danger did. That's why pain is louder than love in the brain. 4. Multitasking makes you slower, not faster. Each switch between tasks forces the brain to reset, wasting energy. Studies show this drop in sharpness equals a full night without sleep. You feel productive, but you're spreading yourself thin. Focused depth beats scattered effort every time. 5. Doodling strengthens memory. Sketching shapes during conversations looks like distraction, but it locks details into your mind. The hand's movement frees the brain to absorb more. People who doodle often remember far more than those who don't. Scribbles are memory's secret anchors. 6. A racing heartbeat can be mistaken for love. Fear, excitement, and attraction share the same adrenaline rush. That's why thrill rides or scary movies can make dates feel more romantic. The brain mislabels the pounding chest as passion. Sometimes love is only chemistry disguised as emotion. 7. Mirroring body language is the body's way of saying, "I trust you." When people like each other, they unconsciously copy gestures, posture, and even breathing pace. It's rapport without words. The body admits connection before the mouth does. Mirroring is trust written in silence. 8. Quiet people see what talkers miss. Silence sharpens observation. While others dominate the air, the quiet ones study faces, tones, and hidden truths. They aren't disengaged, they're tuned in deeper. Stillness often holds the sharpest insight. 9. Rejection hurts like a physical wound. Being excluded or ignored activates the same brain regions as pain from injury. That's why heartbreak aches in the chest and loneliness feels crushing. To the nervous system, social loss is survival loss. The wound may be invisible, but it is real. 10. Small lies often protect, not betray. Most people lie once or twice a day, but not with big deceptions. Instead, they soften reality with "I'm fine" or "I'll be there soon." These lies act as cushions to preserve peace. Honesty is noble, but kindness sometimes wears disguise. 11. Chewing gum boosts focus and recall. The steady rhythm of chewing increases blood flow to the brain. Students perform better in exams, and soldiers once used gum to stay sharp in training. It wakes the mind without caffeine. A tiny habit can sharpen memory like a blade. 12. Calm people in chaos often carry old scars. What looks like composure is usually survival learned long ago. Those who grew up in instability train their nervous systems under constant stress. As adults, they seem unshaken not because they are fearless, but because they've already survived worse. Their calm is forged, not natural. 13. Creativity rises when filters drop. At night or in exhaustion, the brain's guardrails weaken. Strange connections that would normally be dismissed slip through. That's why late scribbles or tired brainstorms sometimes spark genius. Fatigue opens doors logic tries to lock. 14. Dark humor is resilience in disguise. Laughing at painful truths isn't cruelty, it's armor. People who appreciate dark jokes often cope better with stress because humor transforms heaviness into something bearable. Comedy becomes survival. In laughter, pain loses power. 15. Night owls often resist authority. Those who thrive after midnight tend to challenge rules and question control. The quiet darkness gives space for independent thought and rebellion. Many innovators and rebels worked while the world slept. Night isn't just time, it's freedom. 21. Swearing signals honesty more often than rudeness. When people curse, they're usually bypassing the filter of politeness. Their raw emotion comes through unedited. Rough words can carry more sincerity than polite speech. Profanity is often passion in its purest form. 22. Music with lyrics drains focus. Your brain can't fully process both song lyrics and your own thoughts. That's why studying with instrumentals improves concentration, while pop songs pull you away. Language areas in the brain overload easily. Silence or pure sound sharpens clarity. 23. Couples who laugh together build stronger bonds. Shared humor is proof that two people see the world in sync. Inside jokes and silly moments become glue that holds relationships steady. Laughter protects love during storms. A relationship without joy rarely lasts. 24. Deep empathy feels like borrowed pain. Mirror neurons fire as if the hurt were your own. That's why you may flinch when someone else stubs a toe or cry when watching others suffer. Compassion isn't just emotional, it's neurological. To feel for others is to feel with them. 25. Daydreaming is a hidden problem-solving tool. When your mind wanders, it explores new ideas without pressure. This sandbox thinking often sparks breakthroughs. Many creative leaps happen in moments of drifting. Imagination fills gaps logic can't. 26. Chasing happiness makes it harder to find. The more you hunt joy directly, the more it runs. Happiness works like a shadow. It follows meaning, not pursuit. Those who focus on purpose and growth find it without searching. Joy is the side effect of living well. 27. Walking speed reveals vitality. People who stride briskly often live longer and healthier. A fast pace signals strong hearts and energetic bodies. Doctors even use walking speed to predict lifespan. How you walk says more than you think. 28. Memory changes every time it's recalled. Each remembrance rewrites the story slightly. Emotions, current perspective, and context alter details. Over time, what you remember may be far from what happened. Memory is a story, not a recording. 29. Overthinking is intelligence turned against itself. Sharp minds generate endless possibilities, but too many options can trap action. Analysis becomes paralysis, and brilliance becomes burden. The same mind that solves problems can create new ones. 30. Compliments release more dopamine than cash. Validation lights up reward pathways faster than money. Humans crave acknowledgement more than wealth. A single kind word can energize someone for days. Recognition is the brain's richest fuel. 31. Hearing your name hijacks attention instantly. Even in noisy crowds, your brain detects it above all else. Identity is the strongest trigger of focus. That's why names in conversations build rapport quickly. Your name is the sweetest word to your ears. 32. Blue environments calm the mind. Hospitals, bedrooms, and meditation rooms often use blue tones. The color lowers blood pressure and slows heartbeat. The brain reads it as safety, like sky or sea. Blue is peace painted into sight. 33. Emotion cements memory stronger than facts. Moments tied to love, fear, or grief burn into the mind permanently. Neutral events fade quickly. The amygdala ensures emotional experiences stay vivid. Feeling is the glue of memory. 34. Smiling creates happiness instead of reflecting it. A forced smile still triggers dopamine and serotonin release. The body tricks the brain into joy. Over time, mood catches up with action. Sometimes happiness begins with a gesture, not a feeling. 35. Solitude builds emotional independence. Those who enjoy being alone recharge from within. They don't rely on constant validation or noise. Solitude sharpens resilience and creativity. Being alone isn't weakness, it's strength. 36. Anger often hides softer emotions underneath. When someone explodes with rage, it usually isn't pure aggression. It's a mask. Behind the fire often sits a sadness, fear, or shame, too fragile to show. Anger feels powerful because it protects the vulnerable heart beneath. What looks like hostility is often hurt in disguise. 37. Sharing secrets strengthens bonds faster than time. Confession is vulnerability made visible. When you trust someone enough to hand them a piece of your hidden self, the connection deepens instantly. That intimacy can forge closeness in weeks that small talk could never build in years. Secrets are emotional currency, and trading them buys trust. 38. Reading fiction is training for empathy. Each time you step into a character's shoes, you practice living someone else's life. You feel their fears, their hopes, their pain, as if it were your own. This makes readers more sensitive to real people's emotions in daily life. Stories aren't just entertainment. They are simulations of humanity. 39. Fatigue lowers defenses against influence. When you're tired, the brain saves energy by resisting less. You become more agreeable, more compliant, more likely to nod along. That's why late-night conversations or negotiations often end in easy concessions. Exhaustion doesn't just drain your body, it softens your will. 40. Forgiveness heals more than the heart. Carrying grudges floods the body with stress hormones that damage health over time. Blood pressure rises, sleep suffers, and immunity weakens. Letting go isn't weakness, it's medicine. To forgive is to free yourself as much as the other. 41. Faces stick in memory far longer than names. Your brain evolved to recognize allies and threats visually long before language existed. That's why you can recall someone's face after years but forget their name seconds after hearing it. Faces are survival markers. Names are human invention. Vision remembers what words cannot. 42. Avoiding eye contact often signals deep thinking. It doesn't always mean dishonesty or disinterest. Sometimes the brain needs to look away to process information or retrieve memory. Intense focus can make direct gaze impossible. Looking away can mean the mind is busy, not absent. 43. Emotions lead. Logic follows. Most decisions begin with a gut feeling, and only afterward does reasoning step in to justify the choice. We like to believe we're rational, but logic often acts as a lawyer, not the leader. The heart jumps first. The brain writes the explanation later. Emotion is the real compass. 44. Talking quickly creates the illusion of confidence. Speed signals certainty to the listener. Even when the content is the same, rapid speech feels like sharp thinking and strong belief. The brain equates fluency with intelligence. A fast tongue often convinces where slow words would not. 45. Threats capture attention faster than rewards. It was safer for our ancestors to miss an opportunity than to miss a predator. That wiring survives today. Bad news spreads quicker, fear lingers longer, and danger shines brighter in memory than success. The brain still scans for threats before gifts. Caution is carved into survival. 46. Writing down goals turns dreams into plans. When you put your ambitions onto paper, the brain treats them as concrete. You're far more likely to follow through, because the act itself signals commitment. People who record goals achieve them at much higher rates. Ink transforms imagination into intention. 47. Loneliness damages the body like a disease. Isolation raises stress levels, weakens immunity, and even shortens lifespan. The human nervous system is built for tribe, not solitude. Without connection, the body deteriorates along with the spirit. Loneliness doesn't just feel deadly, it is. 1. Talking to yourself makes your brain sharper, not weaker. By speaking your thoughts out loud, the brain treats the words as real instructions instead of background noise. That's why top athletes, surgeons, and even chess players whisper to themselves to improve focus and control. Self-talk is your mind coaching itself into peak performance. 2. Messy handwriting usually signals a fast and creative thinker. Ideas are moving so quickly in the brain that the hand can't keep up, leaving chaotic scribbles on the page. What looks like disorder is actually the trace of speed, imagination, and overflowing thought. Messy writing is often the mark of a restless and brilliant mind. 3. Negative words stay longer in memory than positive ones. The brain evolved to pay closer attention to threats than to rewards because survival depended on it. A single insult can echo for days, while 10 compliments fade almost instantly. Pain is stored in bold ink, while kindness is often written in pencil. 4. Multitasking doesn't make you efficient, it makes you weaker. Switching between tasks forces the brain to reset each time, draining energy and clarity. Research shows multitasking lowers IQ temporarily to the level of someone who stayed up all night. Focused depth always beats scattered energy. 5. Doodling is not distraction, it is memory's hidden anchor. When people sketch during lectures or meetings, they actually recall more details later. The moving hand occupies the body so the mind can lock onto what is being said. Scribbles become secret tools of attention and retention. 6. A racing heartbeat can trick your brain into believing it's love. Fear, excitement, and attraction all release the same rush of adrenaline and pounding pulse. That's why dates at roller coasters or scary movies feel more intense and romantic. The brain often mistakes danger for desire. 7. Mirroring body language is the body's silent confession of trust. When people cross their legs, tilt their heads, or even breathe in sync, it's a sign of hidden connection. The brain copies what it likes and what it feels safe with. Mirroring is rapport without a single word spoken. 8. Quiet people often observe more than loud ones. While others fill the air with noise, the silent ones are scanning details and emotions others miss. Stillness sharpens awareness and gives them insights that pass unnoticed in conversation. Silence is not emptiness, it's a magnifying glass. 9. Rejection lights up the same brain regions as physical injury. Being excluded, ignored, or heartbroken doesn't just hurt emotionally, it activates the same neural pathways as a bruise or cut. That's why heartbreak aches in the chest and loneliness feels crushing. To the brain, social wounds are real wounds. 10. Small lies usually serve as fragile shields, not betrayals. People lie once or twice a day, but mostly with phrases like, "I'm fine," or "I'll be there soon." These lies aren't meant to deceive, but to avoid conflict or protect feelings. Dishonesty sometimes comes from kindness, not cruelty. 11. Chewing gum sharpens focus and improves memory. The rhythm of chewing increases blood flow to the brain and wakes up alertness. That's why students often chew during exams, and soldiers once used gum in training. A small and simple act can give the brain a secret edge. 12. Calm people in chaos often learn their composure the hard way. Many who look unshaken during storms grew up in unstable environments where they had to regulate stress early. Their calmness is not natural but forged through survival and scars. What looks like effortless strength is often the memory of past battles. 13. Creativity often appears when the brain is slightly tired. In the late hours, the mental guardrails that normally filter out strange ideas grow weaker. This allows the mind to connect thoughts in unusual and original ways. What feels like chaos and exhaustion can later become a spark of genius. Fatigue opens doors that logic usually keeps closed. 14. Dark humor is a sign of resilience, not cruelty. Laughing at painful or taboo topics helps people cope with heavy realities. By reshaping pain into comedy, they give themselves distance from suffering. Humor becomes armor against the harshest experiences. Joking about the dark is survival disguised as laughter. 15. Night owls are more likely to question authority. Those who thrive at night often resist traditional rules and expectations. Darkness gives them freedom to think differently without pressure. Many rebels, writers, and innovators worked best while others slept. Midnight hours belong to independent minds. 16. Imagination rewires the brain almost like practice itself. Visualizing a skill activates the same neural circuits as performing it in real life. Athletes rehearse victories in their heads before they compete. Musicians practice silently by imagining each note played. The mind lays the path long before the body walks it. 17. People with fewer friends usually prefer depth over noise. They focus on loyalty, honesty, and intimacy rather than large social circles. Their smaller groups protect them from betrayal and exhaustion. Each relationship carries more weight and sincerity. In their world, quality always outweighs quantity. 18. Writing down worries before bed brings peace to the brain. Unwritten fears spin in circles, keeping the mind restless. Once captured on paper, the brain releases them and allows calmness to return. This simple ritual helps people sleep deeper and recover better. A notebook often becomes the container for a quiet night. 19. Talking to strangers increases happiness more than expected. Small interactions, like greeting a cashier or chatting with a neighbor, activate social reward systems. These micro moments reduce feelings of loneliness and create sparks of joy. We often underestimate their power in daily life. Happiness is sometimes found in passing smiles. 20. Silence is uncomfortable because it reflects inward. People fear the emptiness because it forces them to hear their own inner voices. That's why pauses in conversation feel so heavy and awkward. Silence doesn't lack meaning, it has too much. The quiet exposes what words usually hide. 21. Swearing often signals honesty and emotional intensity. Profanity bypasses the social filters of politeness and reveals unpolished truth. People who curse openly tend to express emotions more sincerely. Rough language can sometimes carry the most genuine feelings. Honesty often sounds raw and unrefined. 22. Music with lyrics competes directly with your thoughts. The brain can't process song words and internal thinking at the same time. That's why classical or instrumental music improves concentration. Lyrics hijack the language centers and drain focus. Silence or sound without words sharpens mental clarity. 23. Couples who laugh together are more resilient over time. Shared humor builds intimacy and softens conflict better than logic alone. Every inside joke proves a shared view of the world. Laughter is glue that holds relationships steady in storms. Joy in love is stronger than passion alone. 24. Deep empathy feels like borrowing another's pain. Mirror neurons activate as if you were experiencing the suffering yourself. That's why compassionate people wince when others get hurt. Empathy is not just imagination. It is biology. To feel with someone is to carry part of their burden. 25. Daydreaming is problem-solving in disguise. When the mind wanders, it explores possibilities beyond the pressure of focus. Many breakthroughs arrive while walking, showering, or staring into space. What looks like idleness is creative testing behind the scenes. Wandering thoughts are often working thoughts. 26. Chasing happiness directly makes it harder to achieve. The more people pursue joy as a goal, the more it escapes them. Happiness comes as a byproduct of purpose, connection, and growth. It cannot be hunted, only welcomed. Fulfillment attracts joy quietly, without pursuit. 27. Walking speed reveals health and vitality. People who walk briskly tend to live longer and healthier lives. Doctors even use pace as a predictor of longevity. Energy and strength show themselves in each stride. Your steps can reveal the length of your journey. 28. Memory changes a little every time it is recalled. When you revisit a moment, the brain rewrites details with today's emotions and context. Over years, stories shift until they barely resemble the original event. What feels like a fixed memory is actually a living story. The past is constantly edited by the present. 29. Overthinking is intelligence turned inward against itself. A sharp mind can generate endless possibilities but also endless doubts. This ability to analyze deeply can trap decisions in spirals. What solves problems in one moment can create them in another. Brilliance and burden live in the same mind. 30. Compliments release more dopamine than money. Recognition satisfies the brain's reward system faster than cash. Humans crave belonging and appreciation above material gain. That's why praise can energize someone for days. Validation feels richer than wealth to the human heart. 31. Hearing your own name captures attention instantly. Even in a noisy crowd, the brain detects it above all other sounds. Identity is wired as the strongest trigger of focus. That's why salespeople, leaders, and teachers use names often. Your name is the most powerful word you'll ever hear. 32. The color blue calms the body and the mind. It lowers heart rate, eases breathing, and reduces stress hormones. Blue reminds the brain of sky and sea, ancient signs of safety. That's why hospitals, bedrooms, and apps often use it. The color itself speaks peace into the nervous system. 33. Emotion leaves deeper marks on memory than logic. Facts are forgotten quickly, but feelings stay carved in the brain. The amygdala ensures emotional events are stored long-term for survival. That's why heartbreaks, weddings, or grief remain vivid decades later. Feeling is memory's true ink. 34. Smiling can create happiness instead of reflecting it. Even a forced smile tricks the brain into releasing dopamine and serotonin. Over time, mood catches up with expression. Joy doesn't always begin inside, it can start on the face. The body leads, and the mind follows. 35. Enjoying solitude signals strong emotional independence. People who like being alone recharge from within instead of seeking constant validation. They don't fear silence, they use it for clarity and strength. Solitude builds creativity and resilience. Being comfortable alone is a rare form of power. 36. Anger is often a mask for softer emotions underneath. People roar so that their fear, shame, or sadness remain hidden. Rage feels powerful but usually protects fragility. What looks like hostility may be pain in disguise. Behind the fire often lies something deeply vulnerable. 37. Sharing secrets bonds people faster than years of small talk. Every confession is a gift of vulnerability, inviting trust in return. That's why whispered truths build closeness quickly. Secrets act like emotional glue between people. Trust grows strongest in the dark. 38. Reading fiction trains empathy like exercise. By living in characters' minds, you practice understanding perspectives beyond your own. This strengthens your ability to sense emotions in real life. Stories aren't just entertainment. They're rehearsal for compassion. Books build the muscles of empathy. 39. Fatigue lowers resistance to influence and persuasion. Tired brains save energy by agreeing more quickly. That's why late-night arguments or negotiations often end in concessions. Exhaustion doesn't just weaken the body, it softens the will. Fatigue makes compliance feel easier than conflict. 40. Forgiveness heals the body as much as the soul. Holding grudges floods the body with stress chemicals that weaken health. Releasing resentment lowers blood pressure and restores balance. Forgiveness doesn't excuse wrongs, it frees the one who was wronged. Letting go is medicine disguised as mercy. 41. Faces are remembered far longer than names. The brain evolved to recognize allies and threats visually before language even existed. That's why you can recall a face from decades ago but forget the name seconds later. Faces are survival markers. Names are inventions. Vision holds memory better than words. 42. Avoiding eye contact often means deep thought, not disinterest. The brain sometimes needs to look away to process information fully. Concentration can make direct gaze impossible. Looking down or aside can be a sign of effort, not avoidance. The mind runs deeper when the eyes wander. 43. Emotions guide decisions before logic arrives. We like to think choices are rational, but feelings act first. The brain leaps toward what feels right, and reasoning often comes later to justify. Emotion is the compass, logic the lawyer. What we call rationality is often explanation, not cause. 44. Talking quickly makes people seem more confident. Listeners equate speed with certainty, even if the content is the same. A rapid, fluent delivery signals sharpness and conviction. The brain mistakes fluency for intelligence. Fast words can persuade where slow ones cannot. 45. Threats capture attention faster than rewards. Evolution wired the brain to notice danger before opportunity. Missing food hurt less than missing a predator. That's why fear spreads quicker than hope and bad news outshines good. The mind still prioritizes survival over success. 46. Writing down goals increases the chance of success. Putting dreams into ink makes them concrete instead of vague. Studies show written goals are achieved far more often than spoken ones. The act signals commitment to the brain. A notebook can turn wishes into plans. 47. Loneliness damages health like smoking or poor diet. Isolation raises stress hormones, weakens immunity, and shortens lifespan. The human brain is built for tribe, not solitude. Without connection, the body and soul both decline. Loneliness isn't just sadness, it's sickness. 48. First impressions are formed in less than a second. Before a word is spoken, the brain scans posture, eyes, and micro-movements. These snap judgments are survival instincts carried into modern life. Once formed, they are hard to undo. Safety or danger is decided faster than truth. 49. Nostalgia eases pain like a natural drug. Remembering happy moments triggers dopamine and oxytocin. Old songs or scents can soothe stress instantly. The brain uses memory as medicine. The past comforts the present more than we realize. 50. Power reduces empathy and perspective. Feeling dominant suppresses brain regions linked to compassion. Leaders and the powerful risk making bolder but colder choices. Authority intoxicates by shrinking emotional awareness. Power sharpens action but dulls connection. 51. People eat more when offered variety. Different flavors and colors reset the appetite repeatedly. That's why buffets make people overeat compared to single meals. The brain craves novelty even when the body doesn't need it. Variety tricks fullness into silence. 52. Breathing synchronizes between people who connect deeply. Couples, friends, and even groups in harmony often match rhythm without trying. Shared breath is a physical sign of closeness. The body mirrors the bond silently. Intimacy shapes even the way lungs move. 53. Memory strengthens when tied to location. The brain links information with places, building mental maps. That's why you recall facts better in the room where you learned them. Ancient storytellers used the memory palace to remember long tales. Space becomes a filing cabinet for thought. 54. Curiosity is the brain's hunger for knowledge. Dopamine fires when you seek answers, just as if anticipating food. That's why puzzles, mysteries, and secrets feel addictive. Curiosity turns learning into pleasure. The mind craves discovery as much as survival. 55. Stress pushes people into risky choices. Adrenaline narrows thought and makes bold actions seem urgent. Gamblers under stress bet more recklessly. Urgency tricks the brain into mistaking danger for necessity. Pressure bends judgment toward impulse. 56. Symmetry in faces signals beauty across all cultures. The brain reads balance as health and genetic strength. Even infants prefer symmetrical faces before they can speak. Evolution carved attraction into geometry. What we call beauty is survival dressed as aesthetics. 57. Emotions distort time perception. Fear slows seconds into minutes, while joy makes hours vanish. The brain stretches or compresses time depending on feeling. That's why danger feels endless and happiness feels fleeting. Emotion is the true clock of human life. 58. Repetition makes lies feel like truth. The more often a statement is repeated, the safer and more familiar it feels to the brain. Familiarity gets mistaken for accuracy, even without proof. That's why propaganda and advertising use repetition constantly. The mind confuses recognition with reality. 59. Complaining rewires the brain toward negativity. Each time you dwell on problems, those neural pathways grow stronger. Over time, the brain defaults to pessimism because it takes the easiest, most practiced route. Gratitude can feel unnatural at first because it's building new connections. Thoughts carve grooves that shape outlook. 60. Gestures help the brain process abstract ideas. When people move their hands while explaining, they anchor complex concepts into physical form. This helps both the speaker and the listener understand better. Gestures are not distractions, they are tools for clarity. The body supports the mind in communication. 61. Sleep is the brain's memory workshop. During deep rest, the brain replays and reorganizes the day's events. Important details are reinforced while irrelevant clutter gets erased. That's why studying before bed strengthens recall. Sleep isn't rest, it's the mind's filing system. 62. Small gestures of kindness impact more than we realize. A smile, a thank you, or holding the door can alter someone's entire day. These actions trigger dopamine and oxytocin in both giver and receiver. You may forget the act, but the other person may remember it for years. Kindness is tiny, but unforgettable. 63. Multilingual people often shift personalities with language. Each language carries its own rhythm, culture, and emotional associations. Speaking a different tongue can make someone more confident, humorous, or formal. The brain doesn't just switch words, it adjusts tone and mindset. Language is identity in multiple versions. 64. Anticipation excites the brain more than reward itself. Waiting for a surprise, a gift, or a big event triggers huge dopamine surges. The what if feels stronger than the what is. That's why cliffhangers and countdowns are so addictive. The thrill is often in the waiting. 65. Fast talkers are perceived as more persuasive. Quick, fluent speech signals certainty and intelligence, even when the content is identical. Listeners equate speed with confidence and sharp thinking. The brain mistakes fluency for authority. A rapid tongue can sell even weak arguments. 66. Jealousy activates the same brain regions as physical pain. Seeing someone else with what you want hurts like an injury. That's why jealousy feels like being punched in the gut or stabbed in the heart. The brain processes lost status as danger. Envy is pain disguised as anger. 67. Love floods the brain with chemicals like addiction. Early romance surges with dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, creating euphoria and obsession. The brain treats love like a drug, pulling you back for more. That's why people act irrationally when in love. Passion is chemistry wrapped in poetry. 68. People remember emotions longer than exact words. You may forget what someone said, but you'll always recall how they made you feel. Emotional tone burns deeper into memory than language. That's why kindness and cruelty echo louder than details. Feelings outlive sentences. 9. Group pressure can override personal truth. Experiments prove people will agree with obviously wrong answers if the group insists. Belonging feels safer than accuracy because rejection once meant death. Conformity isn't weakness, it's survival instinct. The tribe's voice can drown the individual's. 70. Images make information feel more trustworthy. The brain gives more credibility to facts paired with visuals. That's why charts, pictures, and symbols can manipulate as much as inform. Seeing feels like believing, even when the picture deceives. Vision persuades faster than reason. 71. Humor diffuses conflict faster than logic ever could. A joke lowers tension, reduces defensiveness, and shifts perspective instantly. Where reasoning might fuel argument, laughter disarms. Humor resets the emotional tone of a room. Jokes are weapons of peace. 72. Tone of voice shapes perceived intelligence. Calm, steady speech sounds wiser than rushed or shaky delivery. People judge intelligence and authority by rhythm before content. That's why leaders train not only what they say, but how they say it. Sound persuades as much as meaning. 73. Stress narrows the brain's perception. Under pressure, adrenaline makes you focus only on immediate threats. While this helps survival, it kills creativity and long-term planning. That's why in emergencies, people miss small details. Calmness expands awareness that stress compresses. 74. Emotions spread between people like invisible waves. If someone is anxious, those nearby often feel tense too. If someone is joyful, others lighten up. Mirror neurons pick up and copy emotional states automatically. We don't just mimic gestures, we catch moods. Emotion is contagious energy. 75. The brain values losses more heavily than gains. Losing $100 hurts far more than winning $100 feels good. This loss aversion guides countless decisions without us noticing. It was safer to avoid danger than to chase reward. Fear weighs more than hope in human psychology. 76. Music influences how people drive. Fast, intense beats raise heart rate and push drivers to speed, while slow songs calm and slow movements. Playlists can shape risk-taking more than we realize. That's why traffic safety campaigns sometimes target sound. Your ears help steer your hands. 77. People unconsciously mimic others' accents and tones. When we like someone, our voice shifts slightly toward their rhythm and pitch. It's the brain's way of building connection without words. This mimicry happens faster than we notice. Even speech wants to belong. 78. Messy environments often boost creativity. Clutter stimulates the brain with unpredictability, sparking unconventional thought. While order promotes discipline, chaos encourages invention. That's why some innovators thrive in disorganized rooms. Disorder feeds imagination. 9. Fear burns memories deeper into the brain. Moments of terror activate the amygdala and sear details into long-term storage. Smells, sounds, and sights from those events stay vivid for decades. Fear is evolution's branding iron for survival. Trauma lasts longer than comfort. 80. Laughing at yourself builds resilience. Turning mistakes into jokes lowers stress and protects self-esteem. It shows strength rather than weakness, because it robs errors of power. People who laugh at themselves recover from setbacks faster. Humor transforms shame into survival. 81. Height influences perceptions of power. Taller individuals are often judged as more competent and leader-like, even when skill is equal. Studies show height even sways elections and promotions. The brain equates size with strength. Instinct shapes judgment more than reason. 82. Curiosity locks learning into memory. When you want to know, dopamine activates and boosts retention. That's why lessons tied to genuine interest stick better than forced ones. Curiosity makes knowledge addictive. The hungry brain never forgets what it craves. 83. Positive instructions work better than negatives. Walk slowly is obeyed more than don't run, because the brain struggles with negation. Clear, affirmative phrasing directs action more effectively. Words shape behavior like rails shape trains. Guidance works best when it points forward. 84. Stress increases cravings for sugar. Cortisol signals the body to seek fast energy, making sweets irresistible. The relief is short-lived, but the crash deepens fatigue. Stress hijacks appetite into survival mode. Cravings are biology, not weakness. 85. Emotionally charged speeches are remembered longer than factual ones. Passion and energy burn into the mind while pure logic fades. That's why movements rely on fiery words rather than statistics. The brain holds on to feelings stronger than facts. Emotion is the true echo of memory. 86. Human behavior is more predictable than we think. Habits and subconscious scripts guide most choices with surprising regularity. Psychologists can forecast actions because patterns repeat. Free will exists, but often shares space with automatic wiring. Predictability hides in everyday routines. 87. Planning your day in the morning reduces stress. Writing down tasks gives the brain a sense of order before chaos begins. This lowers cortisol and increases focus throughout the day. The mind relaxes when it sees a clear roadmap. A plan is a shield against anxiety. Everyone believes they understand human behavior, but most of our actions are shaped by hidden instincts we don't notice. Psychology reveals the strange, surprising, and sometimes uncomfortable truths about why people think and act the way they do. These are not random curiosities. They are windows into how the human mind really works. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss these powerful insights. 1. People who blush easily are often more trustworthy. Blushing is an involuntary reaction controlled by the nervous system. Because it can't be faked, it signals honesty and vulnerability to others. That's why people who blush are often judged as more sincere. The body becomes a truth teller even when the mouth is silent. 2. Chewing food slowly increases feelings of happiness. Eating at a calm pace allows serotonin and dopamine to rise steadily in the brain. Fast eating spikes stress hormones and leaves people unsatisfied. Slow meals tell the nervous system, you are safe, you can enjoy. The rhythm of eating shapes emotional state. 3. People who fidget often have higher energy and focus. Tapping feet, playing with pens, or bouncing legs looks like distraction, but it stimulates alertness. Fidgeting keeps blood flow active and helps the brain stay awake. That's why some restless people perform better in long tasks. Movement keeps the mind sharp. 4. Memories tied to smell are the strongest of all. Scents bypass the brain's filters and go directly to the amygdala and hippocampus. That's why the smell of old perfume or rain can transport you instantly to childhood. Smells carry emotion more powerfully than sight or sound. Your nose is memory's secret doorway. 5. People who laugh often in conversations are seen as more attractive. Laughter releases endorphins, making people feel safe and connected. Sharing humor signals compatibility and shared perspective. That's why couples who laugh together report stronger bonds. Humor makes beauty glow brighter. 6. Anxiety sharpens focus on threats, but blocks big-picture thinking. The anxious brain zooms in on details that might signal danger. While this kept ancestors safe, it reduces creativity and problem-solving today. Anxiety narrows the mental lens until only survival matters. Stress protects, but also suffocates. 7. People who gesture while speaking are more persuasive. Hand movements give shape to abstract ideas, making them easier to follow. Gestures also signal confidence and energy to the listener. That's why great speakers use their hands deliberately. The body amplifies the voice. 8. Touch reduces stress instantly. A hug, handshake, or gentle pat activates oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It lowers cortisol and creates calm faster than words can. That's why physical comfort often speaks louder than reassurance. Skin-to-skin contact is nature's stress relief. 9. People who swear often show higher emotional intensity. Profanity bypasses filters and expresses raw truth. It signals passion, frustration, or sincerity more directly than polite language. That's why swearing can increase pain tolerance in experiments. Rough words release real feelings. 10. The brain prefers stories over statistics. Narratives engage emotional and memory systems more strongly than raw numbers. A single vivid story can move people more than 100 facts. That's why campaigns and leaders rely on storytelling. The mind remembers tales, not spreadsheets. 11. People walking in sync feel stronger bonds. Marching, dancing, or simply walking side by side creates subconscious unity. The body interprets synchronization as belonging and trust. That's why armies, rituals, and teams rely on shared rhythm. Steps together make hearts connect. 12. People underestimate how much others think about them. We believe we're quickly forgotten, but casual encounters often linger in memory. A kind word, insult, or small act can be remembered for years. You live longer in others' thoughts than you realize. Your impact is greater than you know. 13. Music tempo changes heart rhythm. Fast songs speed up pulse and breathing, while calm music slows them down. That's why playlists can energize workouts or relax anxious minds. The body dances to sound even when still. Rhythm becomes heartbeat. People are more generous when they feel observed. Even a picture of watching eyes makes people cheat less and tip more. The brain evolved under tribal watchfulness, so it behaves better under a gaze. Morality strengthens when we sense surveillance. Conscience is partly social. 15. Writing by hand improves learning better than typing. Forming letters activates motor skills, spatial awareness, and memory systems at once. Typing skips these deep layers of processing. That's why handwritten notes stick longer in memory. Ink anchors knowledge in the brain. 16. People who smile when sad trick their brain into joy. Facial muscles send signals to the brain that emotions are shifting. Even forced smiles release dopamine and serotonin, slowly improving mood. The body can lead the mind out of darkness. Joy sometimes begins as rebellion against sorrow. 17. Multitasking drains focus instead of saving time. Each switch between tasks forces the brain to reset, costing energy and clarity. The result is lower IQ and worse memory in the short term. Busy feels productive but actually destroys efficiency. Deep focus always wins over divided attention. 18. Couples who share humor stay together longer. Laughing builds intimacy and smooths over conflict more effectively than logic. Every inside joke signals shared worldview and trust. Humor is glue that bonds relationships against life's pressures. Joy sustains love more than passion alone. 19. People remember beginnings and endings best. This is called the serial position effect. The brain holds on to first impressions and final moments while the middle fades. That's why the start and end of a story or meeting matter most. Memory clings to edges, not the middle. 20. Fear spreads faster than calm in groups. If one person panics, the emotion ripples instantly through others. Evolution wired us to copy alarm more quickly than relaxation. Missing danger once could mean death, but missing peace never did. That's why mobs spiral faster than they settle. 21. People are more likely to agree when tired. Fatigue lowers resistance and weakens defenses against persuasion. That's why late-night negotiations or arguments end in quicker concessions. The brain saves energy by saying yes more easily. Tiredness persuades without words. 22. Nostalgia soothes emotional and physical pain. Remembering childhood or happy moments floods the brain with oxytocin. This reduces stress, eases loneliness, and can even lower physical pain. Nostalgia isn't weakness, it's medicine from the past. Memory becomes therapy. 3. Confidence changes posture automatically. When people feel powerful, they stand taller, shoulders back, strides longer. Even pretending with power poses triggers testosterone and lowers stress hormones. The body shapes the mind as much as the mind shapes the body. Posture can create confidence from nothing. 24. People complain themselves into negativity. Each complaint strengthens neural pathways that make pessimism easier. Over time, the brain defaults to seeing problems first. Gratitude practice builds new roots, but feels awkward at first. Thought patterns become mental habits. 25. People are more generous after experiencing gratitude. Feeling thankful activates the brain's reward circuits and increases empathy. Grateful people give more, help more, and connect more deeply. Gratitude reshapes behavior beyond mood. Appreciation breeds generosity. 6. Faces are recognized faster than names. The human brain evolved to identify allies and threats visually long before language existed. That's why you can spot a face from decades ago, but forget someone's name seconds after hearing it. Vision carved survival. Names came later. Faces are memory's priority. 27. Stress pushes people into risky decisions. Under pressure, adrenaline makes quick, bold choices feel urgent. Gamblers bet higher when anxious, and leaders act more impulsively in crisis. Stress tricks the brain into mistaking danger for necessity. Urgency bends judgment away from caution. 28. Curiosity boosts learning more than discipline. When the brain craves an answer, dopamine surges and memory strengthens. That's why passionate learners remember far more than forced ones. Curiosity turns knowledge into pleasure. Hunger for truth sticks longer than obligation. 29. Forgiveness strengthens health as well as relationships. Holding grudges floods the body with cortisol, raising blood pressure and stress. Releasing resentment lowers tension and boosts immunity. Forgiveness doesn't excuse harm, it frees the forgiver. Mercy is medicine hidden in the heart. 30. People trust deep voices more than high ones. Lower pitch signals confidence, authority, and maturity across cultures. That's why leaders, narrators, and actors train to deepen their voices. The brain translates sound into strength. Power often begins in tone, not words. 31. People nod more when music plays in the background. Rhythm naturally primes the body to sync, even in conversation. Subtle beats influence agreement and mood without awareness. That's why shops, ads, and rallies use music strategically. The body says yes before the mind decides. 32. Boredom sparks hidden creativity. When the brain isn't overloaded, it begins connecting unusual ideas. That's why breakthroughs often happen while showering or staring into space. Boredom is not emptiness. It is fertile ground for imagination. Silence grows invention. 3. People who plan their mornings feel calmer all day. Writing down goals signals order to the brain before chaos begins. This lowers cortisol and reduces procrastination. The mind relaxes with a clear map to follow. Structure turns anxiety into focus. 34. Yawning is contagious because of empathy. When one person yawns, mirror neurons trigger the same action in others. The stronger the empathy, the more likely it spreads. Yawning is proof of emotional synchrony. The body shows connection through shared fatigue. 35. People overeat when distracted. Eating while watching TV or scrolling reduces awareness of fullness. The brain delays satiety signals, leading to larger portions consumed. Mindful eating restores the balance between body and appetite. Attention controls hunger as much as food. 36. People misjudge how closely others notice them. This spotlight effect makes you feel like everyone sees your flaws. In reality, most are too focused on themselves to notice. Anxiety magnifies self-awareness beyond reality. The spotlight is imagined, not real. 37. Humor makes people appear more intelligent. Quick jokes show fast thinking and social awareness. Listeners interpret humor as a sign of creativity and sharpness. That's why witty speakers are often seen as smarter than serious ones. Laughter signals intelligence disguised as play. 38. Smells influence decisions more than we realize. The scent of cleanliness makes people behave more ethically, while pleasant aromas increase generosity. Smell bypasses logic and alters mood directly. Businesses use scent design to shape behavior silently. The nose guides choices the mind can't explain. 39. Group chanting or singing bonds people instantly. Shared rhythm releases endorphins and oxytocin, creating trust and unity. That's why rituals, concerts, and sports chants feel so powerful. Music doesn't just entertain, it fuses individuals into one. Rhythm makes strangers feel like tribe. 40. People judge intelligence by calm tone before content. Steady rhythm and relaxed delivery make words sound wiser, even if they're simple. The brain equates calm with authority and competence. That's why great leaders train not only what to say, but how to say it. Confidence is heard before it is understood.